Hi, I'm Barry Sahasian. Today I'd like to show you the difference a half step can make added to a scale or an arpeggio in jazz. I'd like to show you what makes a line sound like jazz, and you may be surprised that it's not as much as you think. It usually is one approach note or passing tone or blues tone added to a scale or an arpeggio, and it changes the whole color of the sound. And it sounds like jazz. There are other elements as well that have to be taken into consideration, like creative use of the arpeggio before you even add the blues tone, passing tone, or approach note. I'd like to give you an example that illustrates what's going to happen with the half-step approach, and that would be on Thelonious Monk's tune, Well You Needn't. First chord in his tune is an F7th chord. He approaches the fifth of the F7th chord with the chromatic approach. The last video I did, I covered Charley Parker's Scrapple from the Apple. The first chord in Scrapple from the Apple was a G minor. Charley approached that first tone, which was the root of the G minor 7, with a half-step approach, an F sharp to a G. Exactly the same thing T-Monk did, only it was to a different degree of the arpeggio and in a different key. First chord, chromatic approach to the first note of the tune. Right now, I'd like to provide you with a set of rules to follow to be able to create your own lines, because after all, jazz is spontaneous creativity. And I could show you a line that I wrote or a line that was played by a famous bass player, but instead I'm going to give you the rules to create your own. These rules can be broken at any time to enhance the creative process, but that's not where we're at right now. We have to get a set of rules that we adhere to, that you understand, so you can move around creatively and do totally original lines by you. I'll start out with the ingredients. The ingredients, you have to know an arpeggio. Any arpeggio to start. The more arpeggios you know, the more possibilities naturally. And the next ingredient, you have to be able to play it with good meter. What is good meter? Good meter means 4 beats to a measure if you're in 4/4 time, or 3 beats to a measure, or whatever the time signature is, to adhere to that, and that's called having good meter by being able to adhere to it. So we're going to start out with an A triad. The next rule is we're going to play chord tones on the downbeats. In this case, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we played 1, 3, 5, and 1. So that'll help us 4 beats in 4/4 time. Now we put the approach notes, passing tones, or blues notes, whatever you'd like to call it, in between with eighth notes. So now you have a downbeat, an offbeat, a downbeat, an offbeat, and we want all the chord tones to be on the downbeats and all the approaches, blues tones, and passing tones in between. That makes our jazzy sound. It's called tension and resolve. We create tension and then it resolves, and over again. We can start on the root and make the first approach go back to the root by hitting the root and then the passing tone between the root. I'd like to play that a little bit slower now and talk about it just a little bit. That's a 1 measure phrase ending on beat 4. Now I'd like to play one more but descending from the octave. Now what I'd like to do is put them together back to back and create a 2-bar phrase. This is the foundation of what we're going to do. I'm going to take what we discussed and put some lines together and try to make them creative, and also try to make it so you can alter them easy by understanding the simple concepts of chord tone on a downbeat and approach note on the offbeat, a half-step approach that is. Here's the first idea. It will be chord tone, approach, back to the chord tone. And I'm going to do that from the root and the third. So that's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. That's pretty much a full measure. So we can extend it to go up another measure by simply going to the 5th and doing the same thing and going to the root. Now that we've done that, let's try something else. What I'm going to do is take that root, approach, and root, and I'm going to do that only once. And then the rest of the measure, I'm going to just do approach to chord tone, approach to chord tone. And when I do this, you will notice that all the chord tones are on downbeats and all the approaches are on upbeats. My illustration. And we can go up higher, do a second measure too as well. That's all for this video. I'd like to point out that the concepts I use here are not the only way to use approach notes and chord tones. I just simplified it so it was easier for you to understand, and perhaps you could use them right away and be spontaneous. I ask you might subscribe, hit the bell to be noticed, ask me questions. I'd love to answer them and explore some of your thoughts as well. Until next time, and thank you again.